Hi, I'm Professor Gareth Arnott, and I'm the Program Coordinator in the Department of Chemistry and Polymer Science. And I want to just take a few moments of your time to talk a little bit about the programs that we have in our chemistry department and what the sort of things that you can do with them as you move on. Our previous head of department picked up on this. I've read this book. It's a really good statement from Bill Bryson, which I find absolutely fascinating as a chemist. It is just incredible to think about how molecules are made up of these atoms, but the atoms themselves are extremely boring. They don't really do anything for you. So if you were to take your body apart piece by piece and get a pile of atoms, what's going to end up is like absolutely nothing. It's going to be a bit of dust and gases, and yet the way that those atoms are connected and the way they're put together is what chemistry is about. And chemistry is about looking at how we do these reactions and how atoms are connected to each other. And it's absolutely fascinating that in the way that you can put them together, you end up with this body, a human body like this, or other materials around us. So why chemistry? Well, chemistry really is the central science. It's one of the things that we like to say is that chemistry is central to so many different areas. And on the slide over here, you can see that in so many different spheres of science, such as geology, environmental science, biology, plant science, medicine, astronomy, biochemistry, physics, all of those areas are connected in some way to chemistry, and chemistry speaks to all of those different areas. And so studying chemistry gives you a foundation into so many different spheres of life. So why study chemistry? Why is it so important? Well, in 2015, the United Nations developed these Sustainable Development Goals. There were 17 of them, and arguably quite a lot of those goals are connected to chemistry. But specifically, there are 7 of them which are directly connected to chemistry. And these goals that are out there are important goals in terms of the sustainability of our planet and our world as life goes on. Many people look at chemistry and they think, well, chemistry is the reason that we're in this problem. And we have to be fair that to a greater extent, yes, chemists are the ones that have ultimately created a lot of things, plastics and things that have polluted the planet. However, the solution to that is not by saying chemistry isn't important. It's chemists who are going to solve those problems. Now, one of the development goals is zero hunger, and zero hunger is how chemists are going to are needed to solve the problems of growing food. It is not as simple as just putting a plant into the ground and getting it. If you want to supply food to the billions of people on this planet, we have to have chemists in place who are able to make the fertilizers and the nutrients that are needed for plants to grow and to yield in a way that is possible. Medicine, good health and well-being is another extremely important area which is heavily invested in terms of chemistry. Yes, you also need biochemists. Yes, you also need medical doctors, pharmacists, and physiologists. But chemistry is at the heart of how we make molecules and how we understand how those molecules interact with people in the human body and whether they are good for curing diseases or not. So a chemist is extremely important in that whole space. And we'll talk a bit about that just now as well. Clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, all extremely important interactions with chemistry. Using nanotechnology to purify water, and also energy storage in terms of renewable energy. It's all very well that we can get energy from the sun, but we need chemists who are developing the materials that harvest the sun's light and energy. We need chemists to develop the materials that can store the light energy. And so we can go on and see just how important chemists are in terms of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the future of our planet. Ultimately, one of the biggest things that people ask is, if you're going to study chemistry, is like, well, what do you want to be? And ultimately the answer is, well, employed. Yes, of course. This is a very important question. If I study chemistry, am I going to get a job? And the simple answer to that is yes, you will get a job because chemistry is involved in so many different areas that it's in a sense not something that is highly specialized. It allows you to move off in a whole host of different areas. If we look at just South Africa, and I know this is a terrible slide, don't shoot me for this. I would never put a slide up normally with so many words on it, but this is from the Department of Trade and Industry. And essentially, I mean, the take-home message here is that chemistry is involved in pretty much a quarter of the gross domestic product and of industry that we have in South Africa. It is a huge sector of South Africa, and we are the biggest in Africa and a big player in the world. If we think of particularly international companies such as Sasol that started here in South Africa, it is a big sector of the South African economy. And chemists are found in so many different groups. Again, this slide has way too much information on it in terms of the different areas that people can be involved in chemistry. And so there are a lot of areas that a person who studies a 3-year chemistry degree can then go out and specialize in. But not only chemistry, and I think this is something that a lot of people kind of miss when they think, well, why should I study chemistry? Well, studying chemistry is also important in a lot of jobs that you might think are not really what are, would need chemistry. And so here's a couple of examples, and I've got a secret fifth one as well. But careers in journalism, we need people who are trained in chemistry and in science to be able to communicate those aspects in a very real and meaningful way. Misinformation is rife in the world at the moment, with people claiming a whole lot of things that scientists are saying which are sometimes not true or sometimes taken out of context. And people who are trained and understand science and have a good way of being able to look at that in terms of things like journalism is important. Careers in law, extremely important and extremely lucrative. To become a patent attorney, one needs to pretty much have a master's in a subject, but preferably a PhD. And chemists are highly sought after. Many of our PhD graduates have actually moved on and gone into patent law, which is a very lucrative area. There's careers in entrepreneurship and careers in forensics, and I can go on. Another one that I haven't even put on the slide over here is careers in education. It is so important in our country right now to have good quality science teachers. And many graduates, after even PhD, but often after a 3-year degree, move on and do a PGCE, and they go and train to become teachers. So, what do you study in the Department of Chemistry? We have 3 focal areas, and there's a mystery 4th one, and I'll talk about that one last if you hang around. So the first one that we look at is applied and sustainable chemistry. Now, this is a brand new focal area that is launching in 2025. And this focal area is essentially a chemistry degree. We put together all the components of what you need to study for this. It's a chemistry degree that also focuses on a lot of applied chemistry courses. We've got an exciting course on green and sustainable chemistry that is launching at the same time. We've got courses in polymer science, and we also have a course on applied medicinal chemistry. And so this course, that if you choose this is a choice for you because you are absolutely sold out in really just chemistry. You love chemistry and you just want to focus on the chemical subjects, and you want to, and the extra subjects that you want to do are going to be applied chemistry as well, leading up to doing an honors in chemistry. The next focal area is called chemical biology. Now, chemical biology is an interdisciplinary type of degree that connects the interface between biochemistry and chemistry. And so this interdisciplinary degree is focusing very much at that molecular level. So you would do subjects that involve biochemistry and chemistry at the same time. And what it allows you to do, if you choose this focal area, is that allows you to then carry on, if you choose, to either do a chemistry honors or do an honors in biochemistry. And so this is a really exciting kind of interdisciplinary field, if that is where your interest is. This will be particularly focused on also a type of that area of kind of medicinal chemistry that you're interested in, drug discovery, but specifically how it's working at a biochemical level. Hold that thought. Our last focal area is one which is slightly misnamed. It's called chemistry and polymer science. And that can be slightly misleading because this is actually, for some people, probably the most exciting and most nicest focal area for people to look at. It's called chemistry and polymer science because we are the department of chemistry and polymer science. So this focal area, you can choose this focal area and not do any polymer science if you don't want to do polymer science, because you may not enjoy it, and that's totally fine. This focal area allows you to choose another major where you're able to specialize in something else. So for instance, if you're interested in physics, you can choose subjects in this focal area that lead to a degree that will lead on to honors in either chemistry or physics if you choose the right subjects. You could do a combined degree with chemistry and maths, or chemistry and geology. So there are a number of different options there, and essentially it's a much more open focal area which allows you to choose subjects additional subjects which you are interested in and that you want to kind of get in your degree. So, are you ready for the mystery fourth focal area? It's applied medicinal chemistry. Now, applied medicinal chemistry, you can go and find out more information about that on the online website. It is an interdisciplinary degree, and all I'll say is it allows you to get into either chemistry honors or into physiology honors. So there is a difference to the chemical biology from that point of view. Formally, it's housed outside of the department. That's why I said it's a bit of a secret one. You won't see it in our yearbook directly under chemistry, but that is also an important focal area which will lead to doing an honors in chemistry if that's what you're wanting to do. All right, so what do you need to do chemistry? First of all, please let's understand that you certainly need to be interested in science, and you need to have pretty reasonable good skills in science. Maths and physical science are important aspects to that, and it's good to do well in those so that you can succeed in chemistry. It's exciting. I love it. I'm not an expert in all the areas, but it is just a fantastic thing if that is what you're interested in to do that. But you do need to have some minimum requirements, which we can see on the slide over here. What about afterwards? What do you do after getting a BSc? Well, I've mentioned some of those things. You could finish a BSc, you could go off into education, you could go off and choose to do something different. Maybe you want to do law, maybe you want to get into journalism or do something different with that. But a lot of people, if you're wanting to actually be a chemist, you need to study on further. 3 years does not make you a chemist. After 3 years, you don't become a medical doctor. After 3 years, you don't become an engineer. And so after 3 years, you do not become a chemist. To do that, you need to have at least an honors additional year, and that will then give you a 4-year degree overall, and that will allow you to register with, for instance, the South African Chemical Institute as a chemist. What we find, though, is that once people do a BSc honors, very often the research bug bites at this point because the honors degree is a fantastic time. It's the first time you get to do some research, and that will then lead on to doing a master's, which could be 1 to 2 years, or a PhD after that, which could be around 3 years to complete. So, I hope that you found that informative. I hope that I've made you at least somewhat excited about the potential of studying chemistry. If you're interested in it, I highly recommend that you choose this as a subject. And so, yeah, we look forward to welcoming you to the Department of Chemistry and Polymer Science next year.